There we go. Hey, welcome, welcome, welcome. This whole time I was talking and I didn't even press live, but I'm here now. Welcome to everybody. Welcome to the show. I truly appreciate the company today. I've been gone for 14 days, so we're going to talk about where P. Rae has been for 14 days. It is crazy doing this work. There we go. That's a little better. It's crazy doing this work because you run into all types of snags, people trying to do crazy stuff to you, people lying on you, people making videos about you for 2 hours and 47 minutes, all kind of craziness. But it's okay. We've navigated it well. God is with us. God is with us as He has always been with us. We're going to wait a little bit, let a couple more people come in. Again, welcome to tonight's broadcast. P. Rae is back. I am back on the scene. I was gone for 2 weeks, 14 days. Someone hacked my Apple account. Literally hacked it. And so Apple caught them trying to hack into my stuff. Someone hacked my iCloud, put that my phone was stolen and lost, and then Apple put an activation lock on it for 14 days. So I was completely locked out of the phone for 14 days. I couldn't make any phone calls, no texts. Everything has a two-factor authentication to it. So because I didn't have a phone number, I couldn't do the two-factor authentication. So I was completely cut off from the whole world for 14 days. So the moral of that story is if you have any accounts on your phone, anything like that, make sure that you have some type of authentication that supersedes your phone number, because Apple literally will take your phone number from you and lock it for 14 days and get you away from the general public. So that's what happened to me. Shout out to everybody who was calling around the city of Chicago looking for me. One of my homies actually came to the house and threw rocks at the window. People love me for real. Thank you to those who called around the country and asked people to check on me. Thank you for those who, found me. People were calling my mother like, where is P. Rae? We don't see P. Rae. We don't hear P. Rae. Where has P. Rae been? And P. Rae was a victim of cyber terrorism or hacking or whatever we're calling it. I don't know who did it. I don't know who to even point fingers at, because I got all these people coming at me from every angle. And I don't have to get into those angles. If you've been on social media over this time, you can see who is with me and who is not with me. Check out all the videos about me on YouTube. If you type in P. Rae, there are videos of people who were with me who are just talking against me. So go give them some likes, shares, and subscribes. Today, we are talking about this proposal that ChicagoRED wrote that will actually be live on our website, ChicagoRED.org, which is now active and ready. Shout out to our webmasters in sunny Senegal. They have kept us relevant. They keep the website updated. Shout out to Osiris, our executive director, who is updating the website at this point. If you'd like to donate to what we're doing, that is ChicagoRED.org. Everything that we do is to push this message out to the city. We've been doing this, again, at least 7 years. Since I went to the Young Black Leadership Summit, brought all that MAGA energy back to Chicago, and here we are. I want to give a shout out to the good people at WLS for waiting on me. Again, I was cut off for 14 days, so the show is definitely coming back on the air. We've secured all of the appropriate sponsorships, so we definitely will be there. Shout out to the Illinois GOP and the gala that they're having next Friday on April 25th in Schaumburg. If you are not doing anything, please come out and support the Illinois GOP. I will be there. I have this long red ball gown that I'm going to wear. I'm super excited about that. So please stop by. They're going to have Byron Donalds of Florida down there. He's going to be giving a speech. However, I do want to give a shout out to those who extended an invitation to me. I also, lastly, want to give a shout out to everybody who has been rocking with us from the beginning. We got Black Excellence Hours crowd here. Black Excellence Hour is a show for people with high self-esteem that will be back on the air within the next 14 days. That show is what got the MAGA movement going in the city of Chicago. Before that, there was no MAGA movement. It was actually super duper dormant. Everybody was just angry, and they were functioning as disgruntled Democrats. We took all that energy and said, put your shoes on, it's time to go. We're gonna just get with new people. And so that's how the show evolved into ChicagoRED, which has evolved into everything that everybody is doing. We have splinter groups who are doing things. Again, the goal here is to push the red message. However, in ChicagoRED, we focus on decorum. We focus on doing things politically. You got to know how to shake a hand and make a friend. This is the city of Chicago. And as a Republican, the grace that I've been shown as a Republican in this city has come directly through my relationships that I have with Democrats in this city. And it's because under normal circumstances, what was supposed to happen to me as I'm shouting this MAGA message and telling people to leave the Democratic Party is that someone was supposed to throw a Molly cocktail in my house and they were supposed to come and punch me in the mouth, okay? That's what normally happens in Chicago when you speak against the machine. However, due to the relationships that I have within the city of Chicago's power structure, they said, you know what, let that girl do what she's doing. We know that everything that she's doing is for the city, and this is needed. We need somebody to push back against us and what we're doing to hold us accountable. So I want to shout out my alderman, Emma Mitz, who always tells me, like, girl, you make me proud to be from the 37th Ward, because when you come to make us work. That's it. That's the only reason we go down to City Hall. I don't like going to City Hall, even though I will be there tomorrow again to hand out this agenda that we're going to talk about later on in this broadcast. I want to give a shout out to my congressman, Danny K. Davis, who trained me politically. A lot of times people say, oh, P. Rae is cool with the Democrats. Absolutely, I am. I live in the city of Chicago, and I'm a super duper uber social person. If I did not have friends who were Democrats, I would not be able to do anything in this city. There would be no ChicagoRED without the protection of the local Democrats. Again, the fact that we were on the West Side and meeting all of that time is because people said, leave that girl alone. Support her. Again, she's not trying to sell us out. She's not trying to hurt us. We know where she lives. We know her mama, her daddy, her aunties, her uncles, her grandparents, whomever. This is West Side business that she's trying to accomplish. So shout out to them. So with all of that being said, I want to give me a moment. I'm going to grab this proposal that, again, it's going to be live tonight on the ChicagoRED website. Actually, I won't give up. I have it on this phone. I had to get a whole new phone because, again, somebody hacked my Apple Cloud. I've never seen anything like this. However, I met a woman at my daughter's school who told me that something similar happened to her. Someone hacked her wallet, and so they locked her phone too for 14 days. So know that if you have an iPhone, Apple can and will lock you out for 14 days. They don't mind doing that at all. Trying to see some of the comments. It's not working well for me. I don't know. Let's see. I don't want to share a link. I just want to see what the people are saying. I don't know. Forget it. We're not going to mess up the stream. However, even with this phone, okay, hold on. It's like, try your biometric in 10 minutes or 10 seconds. Okay, phone unlocked. Let's do this. And again, thank y'all for rocking out with me. I normally don't even do these videos. Not necessarily that I don't want to do the videos, I just don't do them. However, I see that this is the way to best effectively get messages out through these videos. I'm a reader, so I'm gonna write something, I'm gonna publish it, but people are like, P. Rae, you gotta do more videos. That's what the people are paying attention to, and that's cool. So I'm going to pull up this proposal. So ChicagoRED came together and we said, okay, we have addressed the issue of the migrants. We were able to get the MAGA message out. We were able to get the attention of the President of the United States. We were able to get the attention of the border czar, Tom Homan. We were able to get our mayor subpoenaed to Congress to answer for the migrants. So as far as the migrant situation is concerned, we have done our parts. The city of Chicago still has to continue separately from the migrant issue. We have lots of issues to solve, and we are spending a lot of our social and political capital talking about the migrants. At this point, everybody knows how we feel about it. Everybody knows what the solutions are. We now have our mayor who has conceded that the budget is way worse than he thought it would be. So there are going to have to be some budget cuts. And he knows that we want those budget cuts to come to the migrants first. So there's no need to belabor that point, in my opinion. The feds are going to do what they're going to do. Trump is going to send Madani, is going to send who he's going to send here. Tom Homan is going to do what he's going to do. We got to bring our attention back to the issues in the city of Chicago, because when I did speak with someone from the mayor's office, they said that the work of ChicagoRED is definitely needed because, again, we need that frictional pushback. We need to be held accountable. So often within the Chicago City Council, you have a mayor who has an agenda, and then you have a city council that rubber stamps that agenda in order to get access to the mayor. Well, what we have very effectively done is give that counter voice that can come from the people, but not through the council, because again, the council is very hesitant to publicly speak out against the mayor. Nobody wants to get their committees reassigned. Nobody wants to lose out on Democratic donors. Nobody wants to be ostracized within their workplace. And I get that. Again, Chicago's a super social city. You have to shake a hand and make a friend in this city if you want to get anything done. You cannot bully people in the city of Chicago. You cannot go and yell and scream and try to force and compel people to do what you want them to do. It never works. It never, ever, ever works. We're taught from the time that we are very small children, do not let anybody tell you what to do. Focus on what you have to do, and then, they'll do whatever. So if you want to make something happen, you got to make a friend, number one. Number two, because we are introducing a new form of political thinking, it has to be done in a way that people can receive it without feeling stupid. Because when you tell people like, hey, look around, don't you feel like you deserve better than this? The first thing that they're going to say is, man, why didn't I see this myself? And then there's a sense of shame that sets in, and then that becomes anger, and then they become hesitant to listen to the message. My goal here is not to turn people off. My goal here is to give people civic education and the patriotic esteem that they need in order to make our country great. We don't have anywhere else to go. This is our country. This is our city. We are paying the property taxes here. We're drinking out the same faucets, out the same lake. You're having the same problems, regardless of what your socioeconomic status is in this city. So the things that we are talking about in ChicagoRED are not partisan issues. However, we follow the America First agenda, which is a right-wing movement. And of course, I'm going to be America first because I'm 100% American. So with that being said, I also, before we get started, want to give a shout out to Brother Mark Carter. Mark brought the Office of the New Americans to our attention. If you are on social media, if you're following the Chicago politics, he is the one who is speaking the loudest about this. The Office of New Americans was a new office that Rahm Emanuel formed while he was in office, and it's to cater exclusively to the immigrant population, which means that if you are not an immigrant, there's nothing in the Office of New Americans for you. And rather than us harp on the Office of New Americans and what they're doing and how much money they're getting, we got to focus on how we can take that energy and concentrate it back in ourselves. Again, I'm not here to talk about anybody. Get it how you live. The city of Chicago has an issue with the migrants, not because MS-13. Nobody in the city of Chicago is afraid of MS-13, especially not in the mighty Vice Lord nation on the west side of Chicago. That is not our issue. They're not afraid of they're not afraid of the Venezuelans out south, over east, up north, Nowhere. Our issue was never an issue about gang violence. Our issue was always about misallocation of money. The fact that they were able to get grants to buy homes that we know that our people were tricked out of during the subprime crisis. The fact that they were giving grants to buy cars. Couldn't you use a grant for $3,000-$4,000 to buy a car? But they got those grants. The fact that they were getting thousands of dollars in food stamp subsidies when we're in the store cutting coupons. The fact that they were getting cash when we are budgeting and people are losing their jobs and inflation has drawn our prices through the roof. That has always been the issue of Chicago. The fact that there is a misallocation of money and the scales of equality are not the same. They're actually tipped a little higher for the migrants because the migrants get the most, or what I call them, the illegals. I've always said maybe all of us should have got on the bus, rode that bus down to Brownsville, Texas, got off the bus and crawled back through the hole with the cartel caravan and took a bus to Chicago to see what we could get. Because now we even see that they are about to create a shelter for the migrants on the lakefront on 49th and Lakeshore Drive. That's been my goal my whole life, to move to Lakeshore Drive. But these people come to our city illegally, and then the mayor of Chicago tried to play a trick on the people by saying that he was going to integrate the shelter system so that the shelters for the migrants and the shelters for the American citizens would be merged together. And now this migrant shelter gets to remain a migrant shelter on the lake, and they get to say it's a homeless shelter. But it's not a homeless shelter, friends. It's a shelter for the illegals, as it has always been. So, because we know the trick, we know their goals, we know what they're doing, instead of fighting so hard and screaming and yelling, and again, I don't do that. You got to have some couth and decorum in this game. Politics is a contact sport, but in the meantime, in between time, you got to, again, know how to politic while you're on the battlefield so that you can win the battle and go home. This is warfare, not popularity. So, we came up with this proposal. Again, it's going to be live on the website tonight. Hopefully, Osiris can get that on there for us. But if not, all of your aldermen will receive this via email. I dropped it off to a couple of aldermen's offices, and they were floored by the plan. So what we want to do is ChicagoRED has an 11-point plan to improve the quality of life in the city of Chicago. And this is through targeted investments and reforms based on the priorities of the fiscal year budget 2025. What we want to do, first things first, is create an office of generational Americans. Now, again, they have the office of new Americans. So rather than like, new Americans, whatever, they're not going to defund it. What instead we need is an office of generational Americans. And so this office of generational Americans does a couple of things. The first thing it does is it provides lifelong residents, especially those from historically marginalized communities, support because they lacked institutional support, or they lack the institutional support that the migrant population is getting through the Office of New Americans. In this Office of New Americans, they get loans, they get grants, they get resources. Even I was at the bank the other day, and they're going to have a home buyer seminar, and they said inquire about the DACA grants. And I'm like, I'm getting me a DACA grant too. We're not playing that game. So we know that there is institutional support through these types of offices, and we want to give that same type of support to those who are generational Americans. And what it does is, number one, it preserves the cultural identity of the city. We know that the city of Chicago is a very segregated city, and we like our segregation here in the city of Chicago. Not necessarily because we're racist or prejudiced toward one another, but it's about preservation of cultural identity. We know that you can go to Chinatown and have good Chinese food, go to Pilsen or La Vilita and eat Mexican food. You got the Puerto Ricans and what they're doing, the Hebrews in the Humboldt Park. And Austin is soul food and barbecue and jerk food. I'm saying this because we're also a foodie city, so that's why I'm relating everything to food. But my point is, because we are segregated, or because we are ethnocentrically separated, not segregated, We are an ethnocentrically separated city. The Office of Generational Americans helps us preserve the roots that we have in our own community. It also gives workforce access and fair competition to these marginalized groups, because now many government funded opportunities now prioritize bilingual or multicultural competencies. And what that does is that unintentionally disadvantages monolingual Native citizens. This office, which is the Office of Generational Americans, we would advocate for workforce opportunities for monolingual Native citizens like you and me. Instead of focusing on teaching our children Spanish, we got to focus on teaching them how to read, write, and speak English better. And we want that across the city, because every piece of bilingual legislation only further marginalizes people who don't speak Spanish. So that's not just Black Chicago, that's Polish Chicago, that's Italian Chicago, that's Irish Chicago, that is Chinatown, that's the Korean neighborhood up north. All of these people who don't speak Spanish, because we are in a bilingual situation here in the city of Chicago, we are now marginalized out of opportunities that should be available to us as American citizens. The Office of Generational Americans will address that. We are also looking for community resilience and stability. By investing in the needs of American families who have experienced economic, educational, and safety disinvestment for decades, the city can promote generational stability and reduce social unrest. Right now, people are super pissed about the illegals. They are mad. I mean, it's, again, not just Black Chicago, because everybody feels that their community is being left out. However, if we focus on the Office of Generational Americans, all of those ethnic groups can have their individual issues addressed. Because one thing that I always share with the white conservative groups when I speak to them is that your boys are using heroin, our boys are selling heroin, and we end up with dead children on both sides. So when we talk about the 290, I hate when people call me twice. Like, oh, I'm on the air. Oh, cool. All right. Oh, shoot. Okay. Okay, cool. Crazy. Get a little more light on myself so I don't look like trying to tell y'all a sexy video or something. All right, boom. Cool. All right. As I was saying, let's get back to this. And again, welcome y'all. Welcome to everybody who joined a little late. Again, I am P Rae of ChicagoRED. I was off the scene for 14 days. Somebody hacked my Apple account and Apple froze me out for 14 days, which is wild. But again, that's another story for another time, because what we do, two-step on our haters. Two-step on them. We don't have time to fight bicker, do anything like that. We have been invaded, America. We've been invaded, Chicago. And so we got to focus on the plan that's going to move us past the invasion. I digress. So that's the first thing that we want to do is get our cultural stability together. What we also want is that we know that the Office of New Americans gives the immigrant population a voice, a direct voice in government through the Office of New Americans. So generational Americans need to have that same type of voice and advocacy in the city government. So when they say, oh, well, what does the Office of New Americans say? Well, of course, they're going to speak for bilingualism. They're going to speak for set-asides, all this other kind of stuff. The Office of Generational Americans has to be right there next to them saying, no, we don't want bilingual because our children are not even reading English right now. So we want to focus on the English language and put all of our effort behind the English language in order for us to grow. So that is one part of that through the government. And we know that in the Office of New Americans, this defines a new American as any foreign-born individual who has become a citizen, permanent resident, refugee, asylee, or any other immigrant residing in Chicago. According to the Office of New Americans, this includes naturalized citizens, permanent lawful residents who are green card holders, refugees and asylees, temporary protected status or TPS card holders, illegals, and DACA recipients. So all of those people have their own separate office within the city of Chicago. And what we want on behalf of ChicagoRED and the Red Movement collectively is an office for generational Americans. That way, again, we're advocating for ourselves. This is not a racial issue. This is an American issue. And we can all go to City Hall and talk about the issues that we are dealing with in our respective ethnic communities. And we also know that the Office of New Americans helps individuals integrate into the civic, economic, and cultural life of the city through policy advocacy, language access initiatives, legal assistance, and immigrant rights programming. This is why we need the Office of Generational Americans, because this would balance out the balance out and support longtime Chicago residents who may not have the benefit of specific programming or advocacy provided by the Office of New Americans. We know that if we want to create this office, we got to lobby Michelle Harris. Michelle Harris is over the Rules Committee. We want this office to be placed in either the Office of the Mayor or the Department of Family and Support Services. We also have an ordinance title and proposal. This would go under Title 2, Chapter 2-137, Office for Generational Americans. The City Council committee responsible for this is the Committee on Committees and Rules, and the committee chair, again, is Michelle Harris. The reason that we're going to go specifically to this committee is because it has jurisdiction over the creation and structure of new offices and citywide policy coordination. Again, we got to get in City Hall and work with the people in City Hall in order to push the policies that we want. It does not make sense to fight these people and scream and yell and act a fool. You ain't got no power through that. The only people who are impressed by that, honestly, are non-Chicagoans, because real life Chicagoans know that that's not how you get deals done in the city. You can't, even when the gangsters come to you, they're not going to come to you and just bust you in the mouth. They're going to have a conversation with you. They're going to try to reason with you first. And that's what we do here. That's how we get things done. The reason that we're called the Windy City is not because of not because of the air that blows across Lake Michigan. It's because of the hot air that comes out of the politicians. It's all about talking and politicking and getting things done in the city. So we also created a budget for this. So this budget, based on what we were able to put together to create this office, will only be $1.89 million. That's a kick in the bucket to the almost $500,000 that they've given to the illegals through not only the Office of New Americans, but all other set-asides that they have for the illegals. And again, all of this will be posted on the website tonight if you want to check out the budget and what we've been doing. This is not a game. This is not social media fodder. This is us actually trying to move the city forward. If you want to change the politics of the city, you have to meet the people where they are. That's it. You have to meet the people where they are, connect with them on a community level, and explain to them how your new policies are going to help push them forward. That's it. That's all we doing here. Now, if the national media is interested in the work that we're doing, we absolutely want that to happen. But you gotta be community driven, you gotta be community rooted, and the community has to be supporting you. I know for a fact, 100% fact, that the Austin community got my back. Not only does the Austin community have my back, but both my aldermen have my back. Both my state reps have my back. My U.S. congressman has my back. My mayor, even, and he's sick of me. Oh, Brandon is sick of me, because y'all know we live in the same hood. So I get all these messages through the streets about the things that he's saying or how he's feeling, how he's responding to what I'm saying. And people say, oh, P. Rae want to be friends with the mayor. I'm not friends with the mayor. But at the end of the day, that's the mayor of Chicago. And if the mayor of Chicago is listening to your policy points and he hears what you're saying and he's putting that in his planning, then you are an effective political organization. Again, this is not a group for failed gangbangers. If you want to gangbang, I can hook you up with some gangsters, baby. But in the meantime, in between time, we're here to do the work of the city of Chicago. Nothing more, nothing less. So find out who is supporting people. One thing that I really went out of my way to do this past summer was go around the city and build relationships with people around the city. So I got my guys in Inglewood. If I want to go on Inglewood right now and stand on 69th and Halstead, they gonna come and say, girl, you back. Yes, because you got to shake hands. You got to make friends. You cannot go to people and cuss them out and scream at them and call them homophobic slurs and all that kind of stuff. This is the city of Chicago, and people are going to deal with you accordingly when you do that. We're not here to fight. We're here to improve the city. So the Office of Generational Americans is one of the main points that we want to do. Also, we were, while I was on my 14-day hiatus, I was watching the children go downtown and have their teen takeovers. And so one of the last things that I tweeted before I got locked out is that go, babies, go. Do what y'all got to do, because if you guys were not bringing this type of attention to yourselves, you wouldn't get the same type of attention that they've been giving the migrants. So maybe now we can address the issue of the teens like we've been talking about the migrants. I'm not okay with the teens going downtown tearing up, okay? I'm not okay with that at all. I personally believe we got to bring back the paddy wagons. Think about it. When is the last time you've seen a paddy wagon? You haven't seen a paddy wagon in a very, very, very long time. And that's a reason that people are out of control, because there is no accountability. When we were going to parties in the early 2000s as teenagers, we knew that when the party let out, the paddy wagon was out there for people who wanted to act a fool. But they don't have that anymore. So what's happening is, because there is a lack of resources and programming in the individual neighborhoods, all of the children go downtown for a number of reasons. Number one, again, there's nothing in their neighborhoods for them to do. The Chicago Park districts close early in my neighborhood, at least. And so if the city of Chicago catches you on Park District property after the park has closed, you are going to jail. That is a arrestable offense in the city of Chicago. And the children do not control the parks in their communities. The adults control the parks. The adults are out there having fun and doing whatever they're doing. So a group of teenagers could not go and hang in Garfield Park at night with the adults. That's not going to work. So instead, the children go downtown because they believe that it's safer. Everybody knows that there's a stronger police presence in downtown Chicago than it is in your neighborhood. So if you want to hang out outside, it makes sense logically to want to go downtown. And people were saying, well, when I was a teenager, we didn't do that. We hung out in the basements. Then you're not a true Chicagoan, love, because real life Chicago public school graduates were outside when we were teenagers. You were in the park. We were at the on 57th Street and Lakeshore Drive. I think they call it the Point. We were at the beaches. We were on Madison when Madison was cracking in the 2000s. Madison Street from Central all the way down to Central Park was nothing but a big outside party. So a part of at least Black Chicago culture on the west side of Chicago includes hanging out out outside. That's what we do. We barbecue, we play music, we play cards, we drink, we dance. You see the girls dancing on top of the police cars? That's because we hang out outside, and everybody knows that. So when we have people who are talking about our teenagers, who are saying that they're thugs and they're degenerates, those are not true Chicagoans. And to that point, not only were the children acting up downtown, but they were also acting up in Logan Square, and they were acting up in Lincoln Park. Those two communities, my people, are not Black communities in the city of Chicago. Logan Square is Hispanic and white, and Lincoln Park is white. So this is not a racial issue, William Kelly, who likes to say violent Black teens in the summer. No, this is a Chicago teenager issue. So we gotta look at it as adults. Do not blame the children for this. We're looking at policy failure from adults. If the children feel like the only place they can be safe in the city of Chicago is downtown, then that's a policy failure by the adults. When you saw the video of the children running through the street, that's because one child brought a gun and he decided to shoot it, and all of those children were traumatized and running, but nobody gave them any grace. Nobody said, wait a minute, those children are running away from a gunman. We need to find and punish that gunman. No, instead, everybody focused on the children and how bad they are and why they shouldn't be downtown and why blah, 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 blah. If you can't deal with this, baby, get back to your village. This is a real Chicago problem that we've been dealing with for years. This has been a constant and very deliberate disinvestment in youth culture in the city of Chicago. And we know this. So to Brandon's point, when he says that, he's not lying, this is not Marxism, this is real life West Side business that we've been talking about since before Brandon got in office. We were having this conversation when Ron was in office, because again, if you have a culture that pushes people outside when the sun is out and you have nothing to do when the sun is out, you're going to say, well, where's the best spot I can go to? And that's downtown Chicago. Now, what we also have to address is the crime that happens down there, because we got people going down there, going to stores and stealing. We got people down there fighting. We got people tasing, macing, shooting. All those kids need to be locked up and put in the YPP Youth Paddy Wagon Patrol. So we're definitely going to push for that. If we catch you outside during school hours, and you don't have a school ID on you, because we know for a fact that all Chicago public schools provide IDs to their students, you getting in the YPP and your mama got to come get you from the station. Like, we really have to have more accountability and stop blaming everything on this. We hate the police, because when we need the police show up on time how we want them to be. Now, a lot of people have issues with reporting crimes. So what we want to do, and I dropped this off to Alderman Talaferro, who is over the safety committee, and my former alderman, because I live in 37, he's in 29, but I live in 29 a little bit too. So that's my alderman too. What we want to do is we want to do a couple of things. Number one, we want to restore public safety technology. And this is to reinstate the advanced gunfire detection system, AKA Spot Shotter. Since its removal, 122 people have been found shot in affected zones. So since they took down Spot Shotter, 122 people have been found shot and gravely injured or dead on Chicago sidewalks when they would have gotten help if ShotSpotter was still up. So we want to, again, address the issues that our communities have had with over-policing, but at the same time, we cannot get rid of tools that were keeping our people alive, because we know that the majority of those shootings happen in Black Chicago, and those people deserve, those victims deserve help. So put ShotSpotter back. Number two, we want to invite trained officers back into the schools to build rapport and foster trust with students and families. The city of Chicago and the Chicago School Board were very deliberate about removing the Chicago Police Department from the schools. So now the children don't have opportunities to interact with the police in a non-aggressive way. And we need, again, them to build this report again. Number 3, because report is so low and people don't want to report crimes, what we want to do is launch a user-friendly app that empowers residents to document and report crimes in real time. So if, like, for instance, I'm gonna tell y'all this story. I'm in the house the other night and I hear this big old boom outside. I'm like, what is this? Because I just got these stop signs put on the corner to prevent all of this crashing. So I go outside, I open the door, and I see that there's a car full of young dudes, and they literally barreled into the back of this gray car. I'm talking about smashed it all the way in. So all the young boys bail out the car, they pick up the pieces of their car, they pick up their front license plate, and then they, kind of speed off with their bumper dragging down the street. If Chicago had that app, I could have gone live right there, took a picture of that, hit a button, and sent it straight to the Chicago police detectives. What this app will allow our people to do, and not when I say our people, the city of Chicago, is report and record crimes in real time. This app will have a GPS timestamp on it, so we know exactly where this crime occurred. The evidence goes straight to the Chicago Police Department, and then they can make whatever they want to do out of it. And this way, the people feel empowered to help the police without directly interacting with them, because we know that in this city, people who go and try to be witnesses for crimes often, or not often, but sometimes end up getting unalived, and we don't want that for them. So those are the 3 things that we want for safety. Again, that goes to the safety committee, which is Alderman Chris Talaferro, and I dropped off a paper copy of this proposal to his office a couple days ago. Shout out to Miss Anita. Moving on, we also want to talk about housing. Housing is something that I really care about. These walls right here, my people bought them in 1972. Shout out to my mom and my granddaddy. So we know that housing is a way to maintain generational wealth in this city. However, we also know that we have a housing shortage because Rahm Emanuel, while working in the White House in the late 90s, conspired with Andrew Cuomo, who was the HUD secretary under Bill Clinton, to remove all regulations from CHA, federal oversight rather. And so when the city of Chicago, or when CHA decided they were going to demolish the housing structures, they were not compelled to rebuild, which is why CHA has over $1 billion. So the feds gave them the money to tear down the projects, rebuild them, but CHA said, we ain't building them Negroes nothing, and kept all the money all this time. Then Ron became vice chair of CHA to oversee the demolitions. Then he became mayor of Chicago, and they brought those same wrecking balls to middle-class Chicago, and then they destroyed the housing stock in middle-class Chicago as well, which is why Austin, Garfield Park, Bronzeville, the Low End, Washington Park, you got all this vacant land all across Black Chicago. That's, again, because they deliberately destroyed the land. Well, friends, we found out through Doge that illegal immigrants were getting federal housing subsidies, and my Donnie put an end to that. So what we want to do is bring that here to the city of Chicago, and with a program called Put Residents First. This is to ensure that affordable housing prioritizes American citizens, particularly longtime residents, following the merger of migrant shelters with city housing. So even in these shelters, the priority has to be for people with Social Security numbers and American citizens. If a migrant and an American shows up at the same time, that bed has to go to that American citizen first. We gotta put the Americans first in the city, and I'm asking the people of Chicago, the voters of Chicago, to stand with us as we push this America First agenda. We also want to revitalize vacant properties by transforming abandoned homes into safe, livable spaces using local tradespeople and student apprenticeships, thus creating jobs while reducing blight. The relevant ordinance to amend this would be the Municipal Code Section 2-45-110 regarding city housing preferences. We also want to enact ordinance called Rehab for Jobs under the Department of Housing. This would go under Title V of the Housing Code. This goes to the Housing Committee, and Alderman Byron Cicho Lopez of the 25th Ward would be in charge of this. 3, we want mental health and drug treatment ward-based recovery centers. So what took me to City Hall the first time is one of my neighbors needed to go to rehab. I don't want to tell her story. It's really sad. But she needed to go to rehab after a very traumatic event. Alderman Ray Lopez called Black Excellence Hour and informed us that the first $51 million that was allocated to the illegals was actually from an opioid settlement fund. The city of Chicago was supposed to spend that $51 million to build drug rehab centers in the city of Chicago, and they gave it to the illegals instead. So what we want is for them to reallocate that $51 million and put $1 million rehab in all 50 wards of the city. Simple. We got $51 million. Everybody gets $1 million rehab. And that way we can address the issue of being the headquarters of the cartel through treatment of our people. Because right now we're dealing with a drug epidemic that's very, very silent. The children are on pills, y'all. Perks, Xans, bars. And sometimes they take those pills and they mix with a little fentanyl and they pass away. So we need to get rehab not only for our children, but for our adults as well. We have a lot of people who are returning home from jail, and when they cannot cope with the change of environment, how the world has evolved, they often pick up drug habits. So we want to make sure that all 50 wards have a $1 million rehab in them, which aligns with the $51 million opioid settlement fund. We also want to collaborate with state lawmakers to make mandatory rehab for nonviolent drug offenses. We spent, I think, $2 billion through the state on healthcare for illegals. We need to, again, take a little bit of that money, scoop it back to our people, and create drug rehab treatment centers all around the state so that when people get in trouble for drug issues, we're not throwing them in IDOC. You got to go to rehab. And shout out to my homegirl, Emily, because she was an addict who is clean, been clean now for I think 6-7 years. I'm so proud of her. But she said that she came here to Chicago, the Chicagoland area from Southern Illinois, because they don't have drug treatment centers at all. So she had to come all the way up here in order to go to a drug treatment center. And luckily she was able to complete that drug treatment. But a lot of times people come from downstate, come up here, get on the west side, get the feeling good, and never make it to rehab. So we want to make sure that we got these rehabs all around the state, because it is a well-documented fact that the Mexican drug cartel has made its headquarters the west side of Chicago, right off of I-290, where all roads in America meet. This is where they're doing all the distribution. So if they're selling all the drugs off the west side of Chicago, we can only logically ascertain that we're going to have a whole lot of drug addicts. And therefore, again, we want to get these rehabs. Moving on. We also want to establish new neighborhood mental health clinics under the Department of Health. We know that we used to have these mental health clinics. We know we got a lot of sick people outside. The Chicago Sun-Times actually did a whole series last week about people who are mentally ill downtown and randomly attacking people. They're killing people downtown, hitting them with bricks, hitting them with logs, raping them, biting them, spitting on them. You name it, it's happening in downtown Chicago, which has effectively turned downtown Chicago into a ghost town. I don't know if you've been on State Street lately, but there are barely any stores on State Street. There are more stores on Michigan Avenue, but definitely not none on State. But you have a lot of mentally ill people out there. So we really have to address that in a way that humanizes them, but keep Chicago safe so that we can keep the revenue going and make our city great again. Make Chicago great again. Moving on, so the relevant ordinances to do this for the opioid, to reallocate to amend the 2025 budget to reallocate the opioid settlement funds. That is Title 8 of the Municipal Code. And then we want to amend Section 2-112 to expand the responsibilities of the Chicago Department of Health. All of that, friends, goes to the Committee on Health and Human Services, and the chair is Alderman Rod Sawyer of the 4th Ward. So again, we talking, we know the committees, we know the ordinances, we know the chairs. We got work to do. Moving on, education. First things first in education, we want to declare English the official language of the city of Chicago. My Donnie, President Donald John Trump, did or wrote an executive order stating that English would be the official language of the United States of America. We want the same thing here in the city of Chicago. And the reason that, again, we want this in the city of Chicago is because this would give more opportunity to monolingual English speakers who are trying to get hiring and services. I don't want to call the city and press 1 for English in America. No, I don't want to have to, hablo español muy bien, ¿ok? Estudié español para 7 años aquí en las escuelas públicas, pero ahora estamos en los Estados Unidos y hablamos inglés aquí. Period. Okay? Period. What I said was, I studied Spanish for 7 years in the public schools here. I speak Spanish very well, but now we're in the United States of America and we speak English. Nothing more, nothing less. It's not that, we don't want to speak Spanish or that Spanish is some kind of secret language that nobody knows. Hablamos español muy bien, okay? But I don't want to have to speak Spanish in America, okay? No, I don't want to. I don't have to. If I, want to practice, I can, but that should not be forced upon us. So we definitely want to declare English as the official language. Now, that would have to go against an amendment that they made in 2015 under Rahm, trying to push what they call for language equity in the city. But with language equity, it has made English speakers receive the most inequity because, again, we've been essentially locked out the workforce, locked out the housing force, locked out of everything because we don't speak a foreign language. It doesn't make any sense. So we really want to address that as an educational issue here in the city of Chicago. Again, the remedy is not to teach more children Spanish. It is to get the English levels higher because, as we can see, tracking in the Chicago public schools, we got a lot of work to do with reading comprehension. We also want to have civic classes in the neighborhoods because a lot of times people don't understand the branches of government. For example, going down to City Hall and talking about property issues, for instance. That's not a function of the city of Chicago. That's the Cook County Board. That's the Cook County Courts. But you got to know that to know that. If you had an issue, for instance, we flooded 2 summers ago during the NASCAR race. A lot of people were mad at the city, but that was a water reclamation issue. Or people are saying, oh, they're not, my link card, I'm not getting enough money on link. I want to call the state, but maybe you want to call your U.S. congressman because they are the ones who do the allocation for the federal funds that come here. So we got to educate our people civically so that they can know how to navigate this whole Chicago mosh posh. I think we got like over 20 levels of government in this town. So everybody is getting paid, but we want to make sure that people know and understand what they're getting paid for so that they can get the help and resources that they need. That all of this would go under the Committee on Education and Child Development. The chair is Alderman Jeanette Taylor. So if you want to declare Chicago an English city, we gotta get on Jeanette back. And I think that she would be pretty open to it because I don't think Jeanette speaks Spanish. And Jeanette understands very, 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 very well, based on her background, how we need to remove barriers of people getting jobs. So I think that might be an easy sell. If you stay out south with Jeanette, tell her that we want to make Chicago an English city because bilingual preferred has left monolingual speakers out. Moving on. Transportation. We want to pull up some of these bike lanes. Some some of the bike lanes gotta be pulled up, my people. So I live on the west side, and Lake Street is one of the major corridors. There are now bike lanes on the outer right lanes on Lake Street. For those who are not from Chicago, you know, we got the L trains, the elevated trains. So on the ground, you have these big concrete structures that people literally crash into and die all the time. And so one way to move around that is to one way to move around that would be to go through the little holes in the between the pillars, excuse me, and that takes you out to the right lane. Well, now those right lanes have concrete barriers that are aligned for bike lanes. That's not safe. We don't need bike lanes on Lake Street. We don't need bike lanes on 63rd. We don't need bike lanes on State Street. We want to really have a talk with not just us, but the city of Chicago needs to reevaluate how we are allocating these bike lanes in the city, because it's making it very difficult for drivers. It makes it very difficult for delivery people. It's just not attainable for the city that works. So that's one of the things that we definitely want to work on, which is to fix the traffic flow of the city. We also want to make CTA safe again. So right now, there are $74 million in the fiscal year 2025 CTA budget to hire more security personnel. And we also want to put the conductors back on the train. So right now we just got train drivers. But back in the day, they used to have somebody that was in the back too, that was like a conductor, and they would look out on the platform. Sometimes they would walk through the train. We need to get more safety and security on these trains because we saw what happened in New York with the woman getting set on fire. People get raped on the trains. They throw poop at people. They rob them. They fight them. We just need way more security. And again, CTA has allocated an additional $74 million in order to make that happen. So that would go to Alderman Daniel Laspada of the First Ward, and the responsible committee is the Committee on Transportation and the Public Way. Moving on, number 6, we want to focus on youth development. With youth development, we talked a lot about the children early on. One of the issues that we also have with the children is that the city does a pretty decent job at getting them summer jobs, but those summer jobs only last through the summer, and then during the school year, it's back to doing whatever you want to do. So we want to create a program called Busy Kids 365, and this is a year-round teen employment and training initiative offering after school and weekend opportunities for young people to learn, earn, and grow. From paid internships to apprenticeships to financial literacy and career mentoring, this program will help teens stay engaged and build pathways to success. We also want to create more safe spaces in the communities for the teenagers. Again, don't say that the kids can go to the park if you don't hang out in the parks in the communities, because those are not spaces for teenagers to hang out. It's grown people in the parks. So we got to create spaces for them as well if you do not want them gathering downtown. We want these to be after school spaces. This can be in some of the schools, but this is structured activity, recreation, mentorship, and these are anchors in the community. This is very simple for us to do, y'all. Again, we cannot keep on saying, these kids bad, these kids bad. No, those are children. Everything that they're seeing, everything that you see with them, those are failures of policies that adults put in place. When I lived in Senegal, I noticed that they didn't spank their children. Those Senegalese children, the little ones, were not getting spanked at all. And I learned that if a child under 7 is misbehaving, the child is not misbehaving. They're just displaying poor parenting. So rather than, pushing it on the kids, think, are we looking at poor parenting? Are we looking at poor policy? How can the adults do something here? But we still want to bring back the YPP, the youth paddy wagon patrols, because we got to get the paddy wagons out. You want to act a fool and fight downtown and stand on cars and throw stuff, we going to scoop your butt up and you getting in this paddy wagon, just like it was when we were teenagers. Just like it was. Brandon, make paddy wagons great again. Moving on. Economic development. So for this one, we focused on reopening Dawson Technical Institute. For those who don't know, Dawson Technical Institute was a large trade school located on the southwest side that trained people in any type of trade that they ever wanted to learn. Well, the city or whomever, the powers that be, closed that institution and moved it out to Elgin, which is a suburb that is accessible by public transportation, but it's not as easily accessible as it was in the city. We want to bring that back. Number one, to bring back even the legacy of Dawson Technical Institute. Real Chicagoans know what this is. We got too many people from random villages in nowhere coming here talking loud about our city when they should be listening. If you did not go to a Chicago public school, if you don't know, bang, 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 ski, 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 we don't want your opinion. Please listen. So, bring back Dawson Technical Institute. What we also want to do is establish or reestablish workforce development centers in the communities, not just in the suburbs, to ensure access to good jobs. That, friends, is pushed on the Committee of Economic Capital and Technology Development, and that chair is Alderman Gilbert Villegas. Shout out to him. Moving on. Family and engagement. We want to have small grant programs that focus on healing and rebuilding families in crisis. So a lot of times on the conservative side, the Republican side, we talk about broken homes. And we say that if a family does not have a mama and a daddy, then those babies have a broken home. But we don't understand what happened to get people to those spaces. So a mama, a daddy, a baby, that's a family. A mama, a baby, that's a family. A grandma and a grandchild, that's a family. An auntie and a nephew, that's a family. Two siblings, that's a family. All families matter. However, people run into situations where they need more support. Maybe a parent passed away. Maybe all of the cousins were living in Big Mama's house and now Big Mama gone and they don't know what to do. The city of Chicago, we have seen, can pull any resources they want together. So if people are going through real life family crisis, we want the city to be able to step in and help them out a little bit. It's very, very important, because families are central to everything that we're doing. That would go to the to create this Faith and Family Services Grant Program. That would have to go through the Rules Committee, and that again is Michelle Harris. Moving on. Number 9 is civic awareness. We spoke about that. We want to have more town halls. That would go to the Committee of Ethics and Government Oversight. That's Matt Martin. He's so cute with his little dimples and freckles. Shout out to Matt Martin from up north. Moving on, legislative reform. This is the big one. First things first, my friends, we must sunset the welcoming city sanctuary policies that have strained resources and reprioritize serving American citizens. If you don't push anything else in the city, if you don't push anything else to the city, tell them we got to stop this welcoming city program. We don't have any money. I've been saying this from the beginning. We don't have the money to support these people under any circumstances. So we must sunset these ordinances. We're not proving anything to anybody other than the fact that we a fool. You know what I'm saying? Oh, the Chicago's still accepting those people. They're still paying their rent. They're still giving them health care. They're still feeding them. They're still keeping them safe. They're still allowing them to drive cars with no license plates, no license, no insurance, ain't passed, and driving tests, okay? This is what the city is allowing, and it's got to stop. And the only way that it's going to stop, my friends, is by getting rid of this sanctuary city ordinance. It's super simple to do. All they got to do, even if the city council doesn't want to put those votes in themselves, allow there to be a special election for us to vote on that. And then the city can use that as an advisory piece as they debate about the sanctuary city. Because right now it is driving the city deep into a hole of debt. And we don't have time for that. That's the first legislative thing we want. We also want to replace the controversial Safety Act. because we just want a safe city. We don't want a safety act, okay? They tried the safety act. They said that the bonds were too much for Black people and all this kind of stuff. But what it has allowed people to do is get out of jail, get on the house arrest ban, and then go outside and commit crimes on the house arrest ban. It does not serve the city of Chicago. So we want to sunset all of that. And so in order to do that, we want to repeal Municipal Code Section 2-173, and that is the Welcoming City Ordinance. And then we also want the City Council to pass a resolution calling for the repeal of the Safety Act at the state level. And once again, that would come through the Committee on Public Safety, and that comes through Alderman Chris Taliaferro. And that's it, my friends. Thank y'all for rocking out with me for an hour. Remember, if you want to support the movement, we at ChicagoRED.org. We have this document here, this proposal that will definitely be posted on the Chicago Red website tonight. Hopefully my guy gets it done tonight. If not, I'm going to get in Wix and try to put it up myself. I'm not technical, but I can figure it out. And we're going to make this shake. We have gotten the attention. We have gotten the legitimacy. We have gotten the responses. Now it is time to work, y'all. It is time to get to work. It is time to do what we got to do. We have everything we need. We are not a pitiful people. We're not scared of Venezuelans. We are not scared of MS-13. This is a money issue for the city of Chicago. Excuse me. Period. This is nothing but a money issue. So please do not go to places and spaces and say, oh, the people of Chicago are being terrorized by the Venezuelans. Oh, no, we are not. We are only being terrorized monetarily by them. We're only being terrorized policy-wise by them. And we got to just move on. Move on. Like I said, the feds are going to do what they're going to do. But in the meantime, in between time, push for the office of generational Americans. And we will be able to take care of ourselves. We're going to force the city through diplomacy, not through bullying, not through hollering, not through screaming, not through cussing, not through making hate videos. None of that pushes policy. Actually, it turns the people off. And I'll land with this. When we were down there talking about the budget, and initially they were going to do a $300 million property tax hike for the illegals. They said they needed to plug it or whatever. The first time we went down there, we got there early. We spoke to the alderman, got on the mic. Hey, don't spend this money. We don't got time for this money. Think about something else. Go back to the drawing board. They went back to the drawing board. The second time they came down there, it was a lot of hollering. It was a lot of screaming. It was a lot of fool acting. It was a lot of peacocking because everybody trying to get on TV. Everybody trying to get on TV. If you want to be on TV, call me. I'll put you on TV like I put everybody else on TV. Call me and I can hook it up. But don't come down there acting a fool. We're not there for that. So because people were down there acting a fool, many of the aldermen said, forget it, just vote for it so we can get this over with and move on. We can fix it on the back end. Well, I don't want to deal with all that hollering and stuff at my job. You got to do things with decorum. Decorum is so important in this political game, y'all. I've been doing this since I was a little bitty girl. Little girl. It was not easy getting this started, getting on WVON, talking about my Donnie, we going MAGA. Do y'all know how often I got cussed out on the air, on national airways for pushing this movement? But it took time and diplomacy and love. I could have been on there cussing people out. I'm stupid. Your mama's stupid. Wait, no. I say, yes, ma'am. Thank you so much for calling, and hang up on them. We're not here to argue. We're not here to fight. We don't want to fight liberals. Everything that I just read in this plan, guys, those are nonpartisan American issues. That's what we are on. And the America First agenda is coming through the Republican Party, and that's who we're supporting. We're here to push a greater time for the American citizens. So I've been talking for an hour. Again, I thank y'all for rocking with me. I thank you for loving on me. I thank y'all for missing me. It feels good to be missed. It was good to like kind of for a little while and not just be running and jumping and doing all this kind of stuff, because we really got to focus on our city. And I think that at this moment, the mayor's office is much more open to listening to what we had to say before now. I went to the congressional hearing. I believe I was the only person who didn't get paid to go. So I got to watch it very objectively. And what I saw was them setting Brandon up the whole rip. And I want to end with this to Mayor Brandon Johnson, who lives 7 blocks that way. Brandon, do not go to jail for the illegals. Do not lose your political career for the illegals. Do not leave Stacy and those 3 children alone on the west side of Chicago because you want to grandstand for the illegals. It is not going to make you a hero. It is not going to make you great. You are not going to be looked at good in the history books. You're going to go out like a sucker. And I don't want you to go out like a sucker. Politics aside, please do not ruin your political career for people who cannot vote and do not belong here. Do not continue to spend our money on these people in order to prove a point that we don't want you to prove, love. What we need you to do is get this office of generational Americans going so that Chicago can be the leader of America First policy in the major city and show the country what that looks like. I'm P. Rae of Chicago Red, chicagored.org. Mwah. See y'all later.